Hey there everybody, Mazrock here, and today I want to talk Augmentation Evoker. I want to go over some of the new talents, some of the things that I'm actually really excited for about the spec. We're going to talk about some of its potential controversies and kind of go from there. Now this is a spec that I've been enjoying playing on my own on the PTR, testing out the builds and rotations and things that we can do, and I know it's a departure from my usual tank content, but I really am starting to fall in love with the spec. So if this is something you want to see more of, because it's something I'm definitely interested in seeing, playing more, it's new, it's shiny, that could be a thing, but it also has a lot of support role, which we'll get into. It is a support role. That's literally what it is. But I want to talk why, and we're going to discuss that in a little bit later in the video, more towards the end. Before we do get into it though, please do like, comment, subscribe. It goes such a long way towards helping out the channel. This is going to be a Patreon early access exclusive for at least a couple of days. I've got a slew of videos up there already that need to get released on YouTube that are just, I keep making more content. Good problems to have. So Patreon link down below. There's a Discord link down below if you're going to talk about anything I talk about here. There is a Discord, Twitch link, and a merch link down below as well. Augmentation Evoker. So what is Augmentation Evoker? It is the third damage spec. Well, it's the second damage spec, third spec being added to the brand new Evoker class in Dragonflight. Now, this is a little bit of a departure, and by a little bit, I mean a whopping departure from what Blizzard has actually ever done in this game for the whole eternity. Damage, healer, tank, right? This spec revolves around buffing your allies for you to get buffed and for them to get buffed and do more damage. So it's kind of like a bard in a sense. It's a dragon bard, I guess we'll call it. But we're going to go over some of my favorite talents. This isn't a full deep dive. If that's something you want, and I can report some of my findings as we kind of go along. Let me know down in the comment section down below. But this is kind of just a preliminary. This is what I really like, and there's a couple talents that grab towards me. Ebon Might. Ebon Might is a brand new talent for this spec tree. It's the first one you're going to put into, and it increases your 4 nearest allies' primary stat by 14% of your own. Right now, with what I have on PTR, it's 1320, and it causes your eruption to deal 28% more damage for 11.1 seconds. I don't know if that's swappable with gear, like the amount of time might go up with primary stat as well. We'll have to see about that in particular. This can only affect 4 allies as once and prefers to imbue damage dealers. So in raid content, it'll be your 4 closest damage dealing specs. Hold on to that thought. I know exactly what you're thinking. We're going to get that one a little bit later. Eruption, Breath of Aeons, and your Empower spells extend the duration of these effects. The next point, most likely, depending on how you're going to want to, level this up, is Eruption. So this actually replaces Disintegrate. Disintegrate is the blue beam spell that Devastation and Preservation have. And that spell, to me, was always a little lackluster. It's kind of fun in single target, and on Devastation it's not bad. On, I don't know, I just don't super like it on Preservation. Feels a little clunky at times. It looks cool, but it really doesn't give me that I'm a dragon vibe. But this spell is really fun. Causes a violent eruption beneath the enemy's feet, dealing volcanic damage split between them and nearby enemies. This is going to be your primary source of essence casting, right? So like the other evokers, you have essence points or essence combo points. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. You have essence. That's your resource, and this is going to be your primary means of getting rid of that essence. Up next, of course, we're going to talk about some of my more favorite ones. We have Defy Fate, which is fatal attacks are diverted into a nearby timeline, preventing the damage and your death. This is a cheap death. I love it. Breath of Aeons replaces Deep Breath, and this is also customizable. So, 2-minute cooldown, and what this does is you fly to your targeted location, deep breathing, exposing temporal wounds on enemies within in your path for a specific amount of time. I think that 11.1 seconds is variable. Like I said, I haven't tested too much stat stuff, so lots of stuff to see. But temporal wounds accumulate 21% of the damage dealt by your allies affected by your Ebon Might, then critically strikes for that amount as arcane damage. So you pop this right when all of your teammates are popping your cooldowns, and 21% of their damage is going to explode on that. And it applies Ebb and Might for 5 seconds. This also removes a bunch of stuff, and you can actually customize this a little bit further. Chrono Ward. When allies deal damage to temporal wounds, they gain a shield for 100% of the damage dealt. Absorption cannot exceed 30% of your maximum health. This is really cool, and I like that idea a lot. But also, you can choose to have Breath of Aeons reduce enemies' movement speed by 70%, which is really big, and their attack speed by 50%. I know if I'm a tank and there's particularly really bad pulls, this is going to be awesome to have in my party, and I'm really excited for this. There is also Upheaval, which is a brand new ability on a 40-second cooldown. So you gather earth and power beneath your feet, beneath your enemy's feet, and send them hurtling upwards, dealing volcanic damage to the targets and nearby enemies. Increases the duration of your active Ebb and Might by 2 seconds. Empowering this expands the area of effect from 3, 6 to 9 yards. And the visual on this is absolutely gorgeous. I'll in another video, I'll kind of go over some gameplay and some basic rotations as we kind of get a little bit closer to 10.1.5. But trust, I love the way this spell looks. You can also enchant an ally to appear out of sync with time, reducing their threat generation by 30% for 33 minutes. You can just apply this buff onto someone at the start of Mythic Plus, like let's say a Ret Pally that likes to pop wings and blow all cooldowns super fast, or a Havoc Demon Hunter, or a mage that actually knows their burst, or a Devastation Evoker. I love this for Mythic Plus. It is a great idea. You can also cause your Upheaval when they shoot people up in the air. You can actually stun them using Landslide by going quick enough. You hit Upheaval while they're in the air, you Landslide, and they come down and they're stunned. Lots of great stuff there. You can stretch time as well. So while you're flying during Breath of Aeons, the damage 50% of the damage I would take is instead dealt over 10 seconds. And this has been a big problem with Evoker, right? If you fly over with a bad deep breath and you can easily take a bunch of damage, 50% of that damage is just going to get reapplied to them. 50% of the damage you take is instead dealt over 10 seconds. So it just gives you a stagger dot, is what it does. Sorry, I kind of misinterpreted that in my head. I already knew. This is just going to add a layer of safety over stretch time. So when you're flying with Breath of Aeons, 50% of the damage you would take is instead dealt over 10 seconds. Now, one of the things that you may have played with as Devastation or Preservation is you might have made the bad mistake of hitting Deep Breath and going right into a pack of frontals and taking a bunch of damage. This is going to give you a nice stagger dot of 50% of that damage, making it a lot safer to be able to use this ability. Blistering Scales. Now, this one here is you protect an ally with 15 scales, increasing their armor by 40% of your own. So this is typically tank protection. We're talking about this in more of a PvE setting, not PvP. And melee attacks against the target cause one scale to explode, dealing volcanic damage to enemies near them. This damage can only occur every few seconds. I would like to see the exact math on that, but through my minor testing, I'm actually not super happy with the amount of damage this deals. I think this could get a little bit of a buff. It seems really low, but you can also, with Reactive Hide, you can make it 10% more damage for a little bit longer. You can also go with Molten Blood, which casts a rather large absorb shield on the target, which can be cast every 30 seconds. So you can shield your tank for, this is at 180k absorb shield every 30 seconds. That is incredibly strong. That's for just literally hitting a button and you're going to get damage out of it. Right, you do have other things like that where Tectonic Lotus, Upheaval will deal more damage to the primary target. There's Essence Burst stuff and things like that. But another one, a nice big buff is Spatial Paradox. 2 minutes, you evoke a paradox for you and a friendly healer, allowing them casting while moving and increasing the range of most of their spells by 40 yards. Priests, druids, shamans. Now, shamans already have an ability that can do this, but, healers that you have to plant and heal, especially priests, you're gonna love this. Them being able to hit that and you having 11 seconds with the current stats that we have of just being able to cast while moving. It's just the type of stuff that you provide that can allow a lot of windows to open up in Mythic Plus, which is going to be the primary form of my content. But we're going to get to that a little bit later. You have this wonderful ability called Time Skip. You surge forward in time, causing your cooldowns to recover 1000% faster for 2 seconds. And there's ways to customize that as well. Give you a flat CDR of 10% or make it last another minute. This is going to essentially be a 20 to 30 second cooldown reduction on everything, but you have a lot of really short cooldowns, which makes this really, really nice. You can buff your fire breath. You can buff when you do your breath of Aeons, your deep breath. You can gain 15 seconds of bloodlust, your fury of the aspects, without causing exhaustion. And lastly, we're going to talk about prescience. Not sure how to pronounce that one, but you grant an ally the gift of foresight, increasing their critical strike chance by 3%, and occasionally copying their damage and healing spells at 15% power for 22.2 seconds. Affects the nearest ally within 26 yards, preferring damage dealers if you do not have an ally targeted. And you can customize this as well with when you do hit this, you have a 35% chance to grant an Essence Burst, as well as Fate Mirror. Prescience grants the ally a chance their spells and abilities to echo their damage or healing, dealing 15% of the amount gained. So you can, on a heavy healing fight, you can go and throw this on your healer, give them a buff. But if there's a big damage burn, you can throw prescience on someone in their cooldowns. And this is a really short cooldown as well, 12 seconds, and it lasts for 22.2 seconds. Now, I haven't been able to really join a multiple party. It was just me and another tank when I was testing Blistering Scales. But I am curious to see if you can actually kind of game this a little bit. Get all of your cooldowns going, get all of your buffs out, get your breaths out, your upheavals and everything. You have your prescience going. You hit times. Right when this comes off again, you hit a different person. Hit time skip, hit it again because it's going to get on cooldown on a different person, and really multitude those buffs out. I think there's a lot of really good stuff in here as well. There's 5%, there's 10% increased movement with ways to make that 40% at times. 10% increase, you can basically turn this into a rally. It's a 5% HP buff, but it can go up to 30% HP. Lots of good stuff there. Modes of possibility, this is interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but there is lots of good stuff. Now, sorry for the change here. I don't have Demodal on the app, but there's, we got to talk about the, kind of the masteries and stuff a little bit here. There's a lot of really good stuff. So, for example, Sands of Time, a passive, it increases the duration of your active Ebb and Might effects by 1% when you use Eruption. Breath of Aeons increases the duration of your active Ebb and Might by 5 seconds. So this is, Ebb and Might is really super centrally focused, and this effect can critically strike, increasing the duration of Ebb and Might by 50%. You have as well Nourishing Sands. When you kill an enemy that yields experience or honor, the cooldown of Emerald Blossom. This is a little bit of healing stuff. Mastery Time Walker. Casting an Empower spell grants Shifting Sands to 2 allies, preferring damage dealer, increasing their versatility by an amount. So this is based on the amount of mastery that you have, and the durations of Shifting Sands, Breath of Aeons, and your other helpful auras are increased by that amount as well. That is a very interesting mastery that I'm going to be really happy to play with. That's Defy Fate and Close as Clutchmates. Now, this here is kind of the key for Mythic Plus. Ebb and Might and Breath of Aeons are 40% more effective in when not in a raid. So, really, really nice. This is where I'm going to have a lot of fun with Mythic Plus. You have something for your healer, something for your tank, something for your damage dealers. You've got a cheat death, and you can really game this with proper play to be pretty crazy and offer a ton of support while holding what I think is an incredibly fun rotation so far. When I was playing with the Ebb and Might and going against dummies or going out in the open world, Upheaval is fun to play with. You can make it really big, really small. Breath of Fire is still there. Utilizing your time skip properly on a 3-minute cooldown to just be able to shrink everything down and have another big burst. Because again, you've got Upheaval on a 40-second cooldown, and you can basically get that down to half with kind of how you're working everything. I'm really, really excited for this. But now for the controversy. I think this is going to promote insanely degenerate gameplay in raids, where the moment you say your augmentation, you have a lot of new friends that are now instantly on your butt the whole time. But you know what? That's for the parsers to care about. I don't give a shit. That goes down to the PI. Give me PI because it's so good for my spec. No one cares. This is a normal raid. In Mythic, that shit matters. When you're playing in a group that's trying to progress Mythic and get cutting edge, that matters. In a heroic raid, if I was a priest, I'd give it to my friend or whoever I'd like the most. And if somebody annoyed it for me, I'd particularly make sure I never gave it to them. But that's just me, because guess what? It's not all about your parse. It's about having fun. And this spec, I think, is actually really fun, because as a tank main, you have something for tanks. You have something for healers. And you have a lot to offer the whole party, not to mention Ebb and Might is going to hit everyone in your Mythic Plus party consistently. I think this is in a good spot. I don't think it's complete yet. I think there could be some alterations to the tree and how we move things. This is a build I've been testing around. It's not the one I've landed on. There's a couple of things that I want to change and move around and things like that and really kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it. But until you get into like a full Mythic Plus party, it's a little bit difficult to do because you can't really see what the real benefits of everything are and how things work out until you get into that group environment. But I am incredibly happy with where this spec is going in Mythic Plus. I've recently found a new love for Preservation and Devastation. And I think Evoker as a whole is going to be in a really fun spot here. But that parsing community, augmentations are going to be a problem for them. That's where I think the real controversy is going to last. Because, like I said, may only affect 4 allies at once. You are going to have so many people. And by the way, if you are good at augmentation and you know how to troll people, you can get really, really good at trolling parsers. People that are only there for the parse, you can get really, really, really good at that. And I've already thought of a couple of neat ideas to do so, because we're gonna see what happens. But you're gonna have people begging for your prescience. You're gonna have people begging for your timelessness and keys. You're gonna have a lot of people begging for a lot of things here, and the rotation's fun, and the damage is good. Like, when I was, hitting dummies is a whole lot different than being in a group environment, having to move around mechanics and things like that. But the damage is good. The damage is solid. It's no devastation, but that doesn't account for all the other things you're bringing to the table, and the damage increase that you're bringing to tanks, armor increase you're bringing to tanks, if it's survivability with Molten Blood, allowing healers to be able to move. If you play a healer right now, every 2 minutes you would love, especially some really heavy AoE fights that require you to move. I'm thinking Forge Master in Neltharis when everything comes out and you're constantly trying to... Can you imagine a window where you can move there? That sounds great! As well as the Chains boss in Neltharis. Neltharis in general, just being able to heal and move sounds great now, doesn't it? And damage deal is you're just straight up going to get more damage. I'm really excited to see where this goes, and if augmentation is something that you guys would love to see me cover more, let me know down in the comment section down below. Have yourself a good one, everyone, and usually I end with happy tanking, but happy augmenting?